I guess I'll kind of give you like a brief rundown so you have an idea of like my situation. So started the business this year. First sale was like April, March, yeah, April. And I've been kind of doing my own thing. Matthew introduced me to Logan. And so I'm in his community like as of, I don't know, a month or something. But we hopped onto your call when you went over like the funnel, Facebook leads.
Super helpful.
Super helpful. Yeah. So we went through all of that, and I've been kind of doing the business, but I've kind of taken Matthew's help on a lot of the marketing stuff. So I just wanted him to be here as we talk about the Facebook, just because it's like a beast in itself. And I feel like there's so many things that I could change with it or do better. But so I'll show you what I have, the information I have so far, but he'll probably ask better questions than I will. So I just want him to be here. But yeah, as of right now, I have everything pulled up with just like Excel spreadsheet of how I've been tracking things. I've done 2 creatives based on like kind of what you taught. I've only used one of the creatives because I just didn't know if I should like try out my other one. Like I feel like the one I've been using has been kind of consistently working. So I didn't know if I should add the other one that I have. So anyways, let's see. Yeah, I don't want to give too much information. Or I guess so the end thing that I just wanted to go over was I'm hoping to get out of this call, like there's so many things with Facebook that I would just like to have a clear vision of like of all these metrics that I see, like what are the KPIs I should be like really honing in on and tracking, and then just kind of what this, I have a VA, and so I want to be able to communicate clearly with him, like this is the expectation of like these are the amount of closes we should be expecting, and I just want to have like certain benchmarks that I can hold myself accountable to and my VA to.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And we could definitely dive into your stuff in a second here. But yeah, this call's like pretty open-ended. So you guys, like if you have written questions, obviously we could go over that. If you want some kind of like live walkthroughs of actually setting up ads together, we could certainly do that too. So there's not like a specific agenda, but yeah, if you want to share your screen, we can kind of dive right into it.
Yeah. And your camera setup is sick, by the way.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's just a Sony camera hooked up to Zoom. That's all it is.
Sweet. Yeah, so I'll just add. So basically the goal for this is just to figure out like what the KPIs should be versus what she's at right now, so we know which areas to focus on.
Cool.
So cool. I'll share the screen. Let's go.
While you pull that up too, what are your guys' process look like from, so like the leads are obviously coming from, Facebook in this case. And then once they come in, what's the rest of your setup? Like, are you using Logan's integrations with Just Call and all that, or maybe you have like another CRM?
So she started getting leads through LSA first, and just did Google LSA for quite a while. And then 2 months ago or whenever you did that Facebook marketing workshop, we set that up. So it looks like they see the lead, they go to the landing page, which is literally a clone of Logan's landing page. And then from there, they get the she uses a different software than he does.
I already had Open Phone.
Open Phone is what it's called.
Open Phone, okay.
They get the automated message 5 minutes afterwards, and then she's trying to get her VA to follow the lead nurture script like perfectly. And some of them book calls on the like thank you page and some of them don't. And so with the lead nurture script, like if they're responding, they'll just call right away. And do you guys sometimes push to the calendar as well?
Yeah, so it's like, that's the part, it's kind of weird. It's like I will book a call and maybe they book like a day or two out, but I have my VA ask the questions of, there's like there's two follow-up questions afterwards, and then it naturally is easy to just like lead into a call rather than use the scheduled call time. So that's like one thing I wonder if there's any difference in how, there's like a best practice for that. So I'm not really tracking like, I don't know, close rate, all those like other metrics. I feel like I'm not
Too well.
too well.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool.
So what do you want to look at
first? So if you want to share your screen, we could take a look at your ad accounts, and then from there I can kind of just like click around to maybe go through some things.
Okay. Ad accounts.
Yep. Awesome. And then actually, if it's cool with you, I'll request to control the screen just so it's a little.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Let's see.
Can you switch sides? Thanks.
Man, Zoom always changes their interface. Where is it? Oh, here we go.
Approve.
All right, sweet. Okay, so looks like you got 2 different campaigns that are live right now. What's the difference between these two? Do you know?
I think they're the exact same. We didn't know how to scale. We're total noobs with Facebook ads.
Okay.
We didn't know how to scale spend, and we didn't want to mess up the original campaign, so we just duplicated it and matched the spend.
Gotcha. Yeah, so quick thing on that. In this case, I would say it's probably better to turn one of these off and just scale, the one that's performing better. So like if we look at your case, let's see if we can track leads in here. Stick and test.
The first little bit, we didn't have the.
Yeah, we didn't have the ClickFunnels wasn't at like giving attribution to the leads for like the first 3 weeks. Like we got that set up recently.
Okay.
So
yeah, that makes sense to why the number might be a little low. Okay.
I do have numbers tracked though.
So if you look at the third tab, that's all of the Facebook ad numbers.
Oh, up here, operations tracker.
The one to the left of it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, nice. Okay, so you are tracking it over here. Okay. Cool. So November, average cost per lead 19.
Last month was.
Oops. A little over 18. Okay. And then let me just go back to here. And then those metrics are based off of a combination of both of these campaigns, I'm assuming. Okay.
Although I think we launched that campaign maybe like 3 weeks ago.
Okay. All right. So that one's, let me just do like last 30 days. All right. So yeah, I mean, they're both kind of performing neck and neck, at least from like a cost per lead standpoint. It's not like one's clear.
Do you mind recording this as well?
Yeah, this call's recorded. I'm going to send you guys a copy after.
Okay.
But yeah, like one campaign's not clearly outperforming the other, so you could probably like pause one of these and then just scale, one of them, double the ad spends. And the reason why I recommend doing it that way is because the more money that you could feed into one ad set, you're actually giving Facebook a better chance to optimize on your behalf. There's something called like I forget if it's 10 or 15 conversion rule, but every week, like a campaign Facebook likes to see at least 15 leads coming from a specific ad set. So you have a better chance of hitting that number, if all your budget's allocated to one campaign, basically. You might have seen before, actually. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but sometimes, like if you go into here, ad sets. It's taking a little while to load, but sometimes under ad sets, you'll see it'll say like learning, like in the learning phase, even if it's been live for a while. And that's just basically a sign that it's not getting enough conversions to really optimize how they'd prefer. So that's just a quick thing that I would probably recommend. I don't know if that's going to make your results night and day difference, but it might help a little bit. But yeah, let's go into this a little bit more just to kind of see how you have your setup. And by the way, so based off of these numbers, so these are like the front end metrics, right? Like cost per click, landing page conversion rate, cost per lead. So just like at a quick glance, like all of this looks pretty good. There's definitely nothing alarming here. I tell people, like, if you can be within that $10 to $15 cost per lead range, that's ideal. $20 certainly isn't bad either, though, assuming you're converting like a good chunk of them. And I believe that's what Logan pays for his average cost per lead, like is around that $20, maybe $22 mark, somewhere around there. So, that's the ultimate metric, is not just cost per lead, but what you guys have here, cost to acquire a client, right? So I always tell people, like, it's easy to get kind of lost in these metrics, thinking like, shoot, how do we bring the cost per lead down from, $17 to $14? But at the end of the day, this is really the number that, you should try and get for as low as possible.
Yep.
So quick.
Actually,
I'm sorry?
realized I just said I need to update that number, the CAC.
Is it not right?
Yeah.
Well, I forgot. I put the closed leads. I added 2, but if you go to the free cleaning leads, I didn't add the additional amounts.
October will be correct though, right?
Yeah, October's correct.
If you look at October, that CAC should be
nice.
better.
Okay. And by the way, so do you figure out your CAC based on like what it costs basically to book a new clean? Like, are you just focusing on that initial clean, or are you factoring like who converts into a recurring client?
So the number I have, so the CAC, I think that one I just included like the first time. The one where I have the total revenue is when I included,
let's see, B36 divided by H36
on the other spreadsheet.
Let me move my face.
If you go into free cleaning.
Okay, let's look here.
That's
okay, so it's the total, initial booking price. 1985.22. I don't know where you're getting this. Wait, CAC is just the amount you spend total divided by the number of customers. Is that what it is?
Yeah, there's technically like 2 CACs, I guess you could say. See, everyone runs their cleaning business slightly different. It depends really if you're following the more strict model where, let's say you don't do any one-time cleans, because I know some people do operate that way, where the only clients that they close are ones who already agreed to basically like an ongoing recurring service. But then if you follow the more traditional model where like you accept one-time cleans too, it doesn't really matter. Technically your CAC is going to be more favorable in that sense. So like the simple way that I like to look at it is like cost per new booking and then cost per new recurring client. So for example, for every $100 invested in ad spend, let's say that gets you one new booking, right?
Yeah.
And then out of those bookings, let's say 30% end up converting into recurring, or 50%, whatever your conversion rate from initial clean to recurring is. Then technically your cost to acquire a new recurring client, let's just say it was 30%, 30% of initial cleans turn into recurring. So if your cost per new booking is $100, that means your cost for a new recurring client would be 300. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
So there's basically like two metrics. That's assuming you're following the more traditional model. If you do accept one-time cleans, which do you guys do that?
Yeah.
I wish
Okay.
I would. Gosh, Logan's like, how does he charges so much for his. I'm trying to like get to more of his level, but yeah, I do charge. I'm more traditional right now.
Yeah, and that's fine. The recurring is really where the money is made in this business model. When it comes to getting a return on ad spends, a lot of the times, like, you'll be lucky if you can break even just based on that initial revenue earned, meaning like however much you invested in ad spend and then just how much you got back for that like month one revenue. Um, obviously if you can get a decent return on that, that'd be ideal. But really the ROI is going to come from how many recurring clients you close that month. Because as I'm sure you guys know, let's just say the average lifetime value of a client is 2 years. Like, that's how long a new client typically stays with your business. Biweekly tends to be most common. Just to keep the math simple, let's say like each clean is valued at $150. So over the course of a month, that's 300, right? So 300 times 24, that's a good amount of revenue, especially if, let's just pretend you decided to stop all your advertising tomorrow, that's going to compound over the next 24 months. So really, like, the lifetime revenue is kind of like the North Star of, hey, let's try and get as many recurring clients this month as possible. And then, yes, if we do get those one-time cleans, especially if they're like the move in, move outs, or maybe some deep cleans in a really large house, yeah, you can get a nice chunk of change for those too, but it's not the preferred way to measure ROI. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Were those numbers like arbitrary numbers, or are those like kind of what you've seen?
Yeah, no, those are pretty in line from what I've seen for like good numbers. So like a cost per booking, $100 is a very good number to set. It could be a little bit higher than that. Like if your average cost per booking is 150, that's not the end of the world. That's fine too. And then, yeah, typically, especially with Facebook leads, like 30% of your initial cleans converting into recurring is like a pretty good benchmark to start off with. If you have a good team, solid process, your conversion rate might easily be more than that. You might get 50% of those initial cleans into recurring, or maybe even higher. But 30% is like a good first benchmark to shoot for that.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah,
Um,
that's actually good to hear because it's hard going from what I was kind of what my process was and then listening to, I had like a process before listening to Logan and then hearing his pricing model, and I don't know, it was really kind of discouraging and confusing trying to like hear what he's doing and thinking that I needed to change completely, but
Mhm.
my numbers are definitely.
Yeah, I think, are you saying his pricing model, because he charges a lot for initial cleans and then charges less for recurrings?
Yeah,
It's just higher than yours, right? The pricing,
yeah, I mean, yeah, it is.
at least what he shows in his master class, is just higher pricing.
Yeah.
But like our average cleaning right now is, I mean, it's typically over 150. So, I mean, we're not as good as Logan, but it's around that, like the 150. So that was actually something I wanted to ask you too. Just what an average, kind of what you see, Cause right now, just watching Logan's course, like I'm now gauging like what I'm doing and comparing it against Logan.
Mhm.
So I should be trying to change everything to fit Logan.
So you're wondering what the average order value
Yeah,
should
what
be?
the average order value is.
Any idea?
Yeah. Yeah, so that number was a little bit more arbitrary. I think, you know, those conversion rates of like $100 per cost booking, 30% to recurring, I think that's going to be pretty standard like across the board. But yeah, in terms of like what you charge, that can vary, you know, pretty wildly. So yeah, if your average like recurring clean is more than 150, that's totally fine. That's just going to depend on the market.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mostly kept that number to keep the math simple too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it looks like, I mean, I'm just looking right now at November. You can see we've got a total of 121 leads and
Mhm.
4 that are closed. And maybe you said that's a little bit wrong. It might be 6 or something, but
No, the total close is correct. It was just, I hadn't inputted the total.
so the CAC isn't quite correct, but 4 have closed of 120 leads. Is that
Mm.
way off or is that typical?
Yeah, it's a little bit low. Are there, so out of those 4 closed, are there more that are like, and maybe you've booked calls with or are currently like still on that decision phase? Do you know?
Yeah, there's still some like that. Well, and one of the things that was kind of odd to me too is compared to last month, I think last month we closed 14. So
Mhm.
I was like, this month seemed really different and
And you're spending more too.
and we're spending more. So I know we're still like in the follow-up phase. I'm still having him like nurture the lead.
Mhm.
So I know there is still potential for more to close.
Mhm.
But yeah, I honestly don't have, I've had a conversation with my VA and like he said, he's doing everything the same. I feel like the sales calls sound the same.
So some of these are in the decision phase still.
Yeah.
Do you mind going to your last month's tab?
September to October, this one.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for the Facebook like metrics tracked. Yeah. Okay, so this is accurate. You're saying like 14 closed last month out of
No, 6, so about
okay.
10%.
About 10%. Yeah. Okay, so 10%, you know, for Facebook leads, that's not horrible. I would say like anywhere between, if you can get that ideally like closer to 15%, that would be considered pretty good.
Okay.
In some rare occasions, like I've seen people, for example, Lucas and Jessica, supposedly their VA is like converting like 50% of the leads they get, which is just insane. I'm kind of jealous of the Canadian market, to be honest, but I think you know, that's just different. Like there's less competition with them, less advertisers, that sort of thing. But
That's
yeah,
not great. That's conversion of total Facebook leads.
well, it's a conversion rate of all traffic sources, to be fair, but a good chunk of that is Facebook leads, which is insane. Like 50% is unheard of. So what I tell people is if you can get that to 15%, ideally 20% would be that's like a really solid metric to shoot for Facebook conversions. And the main thing to increase this number, which you know your VA might already be doing, but speed to lead, that's probably the most important thing. So just being notified in real time as soon as that lead comes in. And you know, for example, if you have a system that can send out like an automated text to that lead within the first minute of them coming in, even if your VA is already like pretty good about following up with them, you know, we're all human. Sometimes we miss out on opportunities. So like, for example, what I suggest for some of the clients that we work with is it's just like a very simple text that goes out 60 seconds later. It says like, hey, first name, it's blank cleaning company, you know, thanks for your interest. I saw you're interested, and you know, blank, depending on what service they picked. so that's probably like the biggest tip I can give to that. Having like a pretty decent follow-up process also. Like a lot of people think they're overdoing it when it comes to follow-up, but ideally in those first like 10 days is when you want to be the most aggressive. So I suggest a minimum of following up, 5 different times within that first 10-day time frame. That will help, squeeze out a few more conversions. And then the other thing too is,
Minimum of how many times? 5 times?
yeah, I suggest a minimum of 5 times within those first 10 days. So one touch point can be a text, another one can be like a phone call, another one can be a voicemail if they don't pick up that phone, right? So those would each be like different touch points.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, 10%, like I've seen worse. I would say it's on average, most people are probably going to convert between 10 to 15% of their Facebook traffic. So these are just like little things you can try and do to improve, right? And let's see, the other thing I was going to also say, which we can actually dive into in a second, is if you make your opt-in phase a little bit more strict, meaning these people, let's say, have to answer a few more questions on the form or fill out like a survey, that will pre-qualify the leads a little bit more too, so that by theory, a larger percentage of them will be easier to contact and book an appointment with.
Okay.
Can I just show you what we have right now for the?
Yeah, totally.
So this is basically someone goes, they opt in on the ClickFunnels page. They go to, I guess I could just show you that too. ClickFunnels. Let's see. So yeah, opt-in page. It's literally just the same as Logan's.
Logan's funnel, nice, yeah.
Yeah. So they claim the free voucher, last name, email, phone, and then they're taken to this thank you page, which looks like this. We just have 20-minute consults for the next like 72 hours available. The company's based in Utah, even though we're on the east.
Do you know like what percentage of leads book themselves once they get to this page?
You were tracking that for a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you have a number?
Yeah, even if it's like a guess, might still be helpful.
Yeah, let's see. Bookers. Book rate, like maybe like 20%.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how accurate that is.
Well, I'm trying to think, like, if
she tracked every day for a week. On Monday she had 20%. It was 2 out of 10. On Tuesday she had 20%. On Wednesday she had 50%. On Thursday she had 0. And on Friday she had 60%, I guess. So that was for a week. I don't know how accurate that is.
Yeah, we would have days where it was like, yeah, it's kind of gone down a little bit, but we had, there's an influx where we were at least like average, like, I don't know, 6 people a day. Like we would have quite a few.
Out of 20 leads?
Yeah. Like
or less, 10 leads. So some good days.
I mean, that's if those numbers are accurate, that's solid. That's more than I expected. Considering that this is kind of like a very basic, like it's a basic call to action. There's not really an incentive for someone to book a discovery call. But yeah, for just focusing on those people that did book a discovery call themselves, I'm assuming like those leads were pretty qualified versus the ones that didn't, right? Like they were easier to get in touch with. Probably the ones that actually did book a cleaning, I'm assuming like a good percentage of them came from the ones that did book themselves.
I mean, I'd like to say where it's
Did
at
the
again.
appointments
What have
lead
the
to,
close rate is.
but you don't know, show rate,
50%.
so let's see. One of
One of
them
them-
close, 0, one of 2. 0.
I mean, yeah, it's like.
There's not enough data here to know.
I honestly just don't.
I gotcha.
It would be of the like 14 you closed or whatever. Did a lot of them come from the booked one?
Yeah, I get what you're. I mean, now it's
Yeah.
like that. Out better. I mean, I could go back and figure that out.
Yeah, I mean, it's I was just kind of curious, like, to get an overall understanding, but to at least like optimize this page, there's a couple things you could do. The first thing is like right under where it says book your discovery call below, I would maybe put something about why it's important that they do that. So like I think this is an awesome model of what Logan teaches and some of the others, of having that discovery call with potential clients. But the typical person like probably doesn't really know what a discovery call is. So if you say something like, hey, book below, you know, your was it like 20 minutes? Yeah. Book below your 20-minute call. We'll discuss the needs, whatever, see like which best cleaning suits your needs or something like that. You could either write that as like a sub headline, or you can make a video if you guys want, host that video on this page, and you that's a good way to kind of pre-introduce yourself. So like, hey, we're the owners of X cleaning company. This is what we're about. We're looking forward to talking to you, something like that. And then another option or something you can do to enhance that even more is include some type of free incentive. So we were doing this with a few of the other guys where we would either throw in like an oven steam cleaning, or maybe like an extra, I don't know, like some extra add-on basically at no additional charge if they book themselves. So that can add a little bit of like urgency or scarcity to it.
Yeah.
If you really want to go Russell Brunson style too, you could throw in a countdown timer underneath this calendar to, you know, set like a 7-minute timer or something like that. But I would definitely, at the very least, just put in something a little bit more about why they should book now.
Okay.
What is a good like KPI for number of people who book calls?
Yeah, I mean, I would say like at least 20%, which it sounds like you guys are kind of already at that number, which is solid. Like unless you notice that a lot of them were, let's say, canceling their discovery calls or not showing up, you might be able to just keep it how it is. But I would say it would only help your results if you maybe threw in something up there.
Okay. And these calls are, say that someone books for 1 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Her sales VA is calling them at 1 p.m. It's not a video conference or anything. It's just like
Okay.
call when they say. Is that?
Gotcha. Yeah, if your VA like does a decent job at converting over the phone, that's totally fine. You know, some people do this over Zoom or FaceTime, which theoretically will increase your conversion rates. But it's just going to come down to your VA if they feel comfortable doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wouldn't be able to wear this.
Yeah, I know some people that crush it with this method. They'll it's either the owner or the manager of the company where, you know, they're English speaking, they know the ins and outs of the business, and even though it's more time consuming, they do actually like getting on video calls with clients because they know that their conversion rates are high when they could actually see each other face to face and like, oh, why don't you walk through your house so I can kind of get an idea of what you're working with, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But that's going to be your guys' decision.
Cool.
Okay.
And then from there, it's creates the lead in Google Sheets. Creates, like, we have the emails of all the leads that are coming through. So we don't have any campaigns running to them really, but there's a 5-minute delay, and then we send them a message, an open phone, which is just hello, this is VA's name, Ellie with Supreme Cleaning. I just received your inquiry. It's Logan's script.
Yep. Okay.
About 5 minutes after. So that's what we have on like the timeliness side.
Is that what you were saying a minute earlier though? Should we make that quicker?
Yeah, wait, how long is the delay before this sends?
5 minutes.
Oh, 5 minutes. Okay. Yeah, people have different opinions on this. I think 5 minutes isn't bad. Like, I think that's still pretty quick. I have mine at 1 minute just because my train of thought is the quicker the better. But some people might think that looks a little like too good to be true. I think anywhere between 1 to 5 minutes is probably fine. I definitely wouldn't go over 5 minutes though.
Okay. Well,
You could test it.
I like it.
Yeah.
Cool.
I guess one of my follow-ups though that I have had the thought of so do you do like cleaning business or do you do something else?
No,
Yeah.
it's just the industry that my agency is focused on after, working with quite a few of them. But no, I personally don't own one.
So do you have a recommendation with like let's say like they follow the sequence, they get they book a discovery call, but it's for the next day or 2 days out, and my VA follows up with them. Like they answered this automated message. So they answer it, then my VA follows up with the like lead nurture script. And then at that point, it's like they've answered the 2 follow-up questions, but then they still have their discovery call booked. It's like there's nothing really in the lead nurture script. I've kind of just winged it and been like, my VA will either just basically ignore that they have a discovery call and then like follow up with them right there and just call them. We'll just ask them like, hey, is now an okay time to, I know I see that like we have a call booked. Are you available now to talk? But then it kind of defeats the purpose of even having them
book a call.
So I was just wondering if you have any suggestions with like that part of
the process.
Yeah, that part of the process.
Right. No, that's exactly what I would recommend is if possible, you can always force the discovery call a little bit sooner. Really, them booking themselves as a discovery call is more so just to pre-qualify them. Like, yeah, you might have some leads that maybe question it like, well, wait, I booked a call for Friday. Like, should I just wait till then? But for the most part, like if they agree to get on the phone sooner, that's better. So I would say keep doing that.
Okay.
That makes sense. So, in other words, front end metrics, I mean, right now, this month, it's 120 leads to 4 instead of to 12. So that's a little bit lower. But that's front end. That's like back end metrics is total closed. But front end metrics, then it sounds like look pretty good. We could improve some, but it seems like the biggest probably bottleneck is on the back end.
I would say that's correct. And going back to one of my last points about what you can do to increase lead quality on the front end a little bit more is so I know Logan's like a big proponent of the form on that landing page. It's first name, last name, email, phone number, and I think that's it. And I think that's good advice, like especially if you're just starting out with ads, you want to keep like that barrier to entry as low as possible. But something that you could play around with, this might be an interesting test, is maybe adding a few more questions to that form. So you can add either some qualifying questions about their house, like how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms do you need clean? And then one question that I like to add to the form too, if I'm purposely trying to pre-qualify them a bit, is I'll put, what date are you looking to get service done? And if you leave that open-ended, you'll get a lot of interesting responses, and you can kind of see ahead of time who's probably more qualified than not. So some people will just put like anytime. And
Yeah.
it's like, okay, that's, usually like if someone like really wants their house clean, like they're going to give you a specific answer, because there's other people that will say like this Saturday, 27 at 1:30 p.m. Like those people are more likely to be qualified. So that could be, I would definitely wait until the end of this month to see if like you get a higher conversion rate out of these 120 leads or whatever it is. But if that number stays below 10%, that's probably the next test I would make for you guys. And your cost per lead might very well shoot up a bit, but that's to be expected. I think that's totally fine if that means that you're going to have like a higher conversion rate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Cause that would be, I'm just thinking with those follow-up questions, like there's a way to eliminate. Like those type of customers that we like, they say, oh, I just want my kitchen cleaned, or I don't know, it's like something. Like it's not worth it for me to send a cleaner out there if it's
just a
just
bathroom.
yeah, like my daughter's bedroom or something, like, okay.
Right.
But so is there a way with those questions, those pre-qualifying questions, like eliminate
Some
more
of
of
those
those
folks.
type of people?
Yeah, I believe there is a way in ClickFunnels to set up. I don't know if it's through the forms or if you can make surveys. Like for example, I know with Go High Level, you can create surveys where if someone specifically selects answers in some type of way, can disqualify them and basically like kill the form and have it say like, sorry, we're not a good fit, or it could actually still disqualify them, but have them continue on. So it doesn't feel like they're getting rejected, but then you'll be notified like, hey, this person's not qualified based on this question. ClickFunnels might have a similar feature though. I would think they do.
Okay.
What have you seen to be like a good, so a couple of benchmarks, like metrics I'd love to know is how much can you scale ad spend on Facebook for a cleaning business? And then second, like what's a solid ROAS target to shoot for?
Yeah. So as far as scaling goes, this is going to depend on your market. So I don't know like what you're targeting Utah, right?
Yeah, the city is Orem and Provo. There's a couple
Okay.
100,000 people like around that area.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the thing with any market, unless you're like in a very densely populated area like New York City or something, ads are never infinitely scalable. Like the more that you increase your ad spend, you'll notice it's kind of like an asymptote where like the results will start to cost per lead will get quite expensive like the more that you increase your ad spends. And then once you reach that number, so like for example, I don't recommend this, but let's just pretend you increased your ad budget to like 500 a day and your cost per lead suddenly shot up to like $60, $70, and you're doing like, you have all the boxes checked. If you double your ad spends again, the cost per lead is probably just going to keep increasing. And at that point, like it doesn't make sense to scale Facebook ads anymore. It might make more sense to move on to like Google ads or TikTok ads, right? But that number, it's going to be different for everybody, like what your ceiling is. But you'll kind of know, because like I said, even if you're doing all the things right and your cost per lead is just like very high, like over $50, you can't get it down, then yeah, it doesn't really make sense to scale it anymore. And then in terms of like ROAS, like for that first month, I would say 2x ROAS is pretty solid for like that first month in revenue. But like I said, it's really shooting for that recurring revenue. How many recurring clients you close that month. That's like a better benchmark to shoot for. And that number can vary based on a lot of variables, like how solid your VA is, you know, how strict your model is, what your pricing is, all of that stuff. But yeah, for at least first month revenue, like 2x is pretty decent. It's usually hard to beat that unless you're getting like a lot of those really lucrative one-time cleans.
Okay.
Okay,
So 2x ROAS up front. And
then,
do you, so right now, how she does it is she charges more for the one-time cleanings and then she drops the price for recurring. Is that what you recommend?
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's how I've seen most people do it successfully. I think
Yeah.
it's nice for the client too. Like, I don't know what your phone script looks like, but if you kind of let them know that there's like a little bit of a hump for that first clean and then all their future maintenance cleanings will be less, it makes it seem like more viable to be a consistent client.
yeah,
Okay. So that's really the goal is, can we convert 30% of total leads closed into recurring? And if we
Yeah,
can do that, then the business will make sense.
for sure. Yeah.
Okay. That's cool.
well, I would, because obviously it wasn't doing a good job tracking that. Well, I would like to know, like, does it make sense if, can I just add it onto here, like track book rate, close rate, things like that on this?
Yeah. Anything
spreadsheet?
else you would add
Like what,
to
yeah,
these,
what would
to
be
the
good?
sheet to keep track of a little bit better?
Yeah, not on like the Facebook tabs necessarily. I mean, you can create some separate columns if you want, like to see like, okay, did they convert into recurring or not? This sheet that we're looking at right now, this one might actually make more sense to at least track, like you have that drop down, which is nice for the follow-up wrong number. Maybe you could have a drop down that says like converted to recurring, and then you have another one that just says like initial clean only. And
Okay,
then on your master sheet or whatever you use to like track your revenue and all that, you could come back here and let's say like highlight all the leads for the month of November and say like, okay, how many, just looking at this drop down, you know, I'm going to quickly count like how many of these actually turned into recurring based off of just that total bookings, right?
Mhm.
So if you had like 30 total bookings and then 10 recurring, then you'll know, okay, 30%. And then you could
yeah,
take that 30% and put it on your master sheet.
Yeah.
That's probably what I would do.
go to the operations.
To this?
Yeah. So, because I currently added the, let's see, Facebook. So the yellow line, that's the one I added
This
for
one?
Facebook. Yeah. So
Mhm.
I could add like, so new leads, closed deals. So track initial cleaning to recurring. How many went to
So,
recurring?
I mean, you could see that if we just change and we have like he was saying, booked, and then you have another option that's
Yeah.
converted to reoccurring.
Yeah.
And we could just count that up at the end of each month really quickly.
Mhm.
That'd be pretty easy. Okay, cool. That makes sense. How about with the Facebook like setup? So you mentioned if I let me just close that out. Did we make changes? No, we didn't. So shut off one of these campaigns, double the ad spend, and then what should we do as far as like we have like this let's see, 3 creatives running. Or I guess I have both campaigns. Let's see. I guess we have 4 running.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. So you're just asking like what if there's anything to optimize this a little bit more.
Yeah, and like how often would be what are best practices for testing new creatives,
Mhm.
copy, like starting new campaigns, that stuff.
For sure. Yeah. So let's I forgot I still have access to this. So let's
right.
Let's see. So one of the first things about when you're running like multiple ads in one ad set, which is nice, is cost per lead. You're always just based off of these numbers, you'll find that like some cost per leads are significantly cheaper than others. So let me just change this to lifetime. Yeah, so like for example, this one down here where it says new leads A, this one's like significantly higher than the rest. Let me just go back to the last 30 days. Okay, in the last 30 days, that's a little more even. Let's try 14. Okay, and it looks like, okay, that's why that must have been from one of your different ad sets.
Oh, we did turn off that sucking. The waiting time.
Yeah, it's tough to tell if turning that off was like too soon of a move or not. But either way, like the same concept applies. Hold on, let me go back. Okay. So like let's just pretend like they were all active, right? So typically it depends like how often you guys are monitoring this. Ideally, if you can monitor these things on a weekly basis, like let's say track everything on the last 7 days, and then come look at this data, and then let's just pretend these ad sets were still on, and you notice like, okay, this is a cost per lead of $5, which is really good. Now it has spent a lot less than 238, so it could just be a game of like, there's a lot of unknown variability based on like a small sample size, but so far that looks pretty promising. This one looks a little bit higher. I would wait till this spends like, let's say closer to that $50 mark, ideally $100 mark. And assuming that this cost per lead is still like a third of the price of this one, then you would probably want to turn this off. And more importantly, see what it is about this ad that's getting the better cost per lead, and see if you can replicate that into another test. So for example, let's just look at these two. Based off of the data that we have right now, this one is better. But let's just see if we can figure out why. Okay, so free cleaning voucher, Thanksgiving.
It's just the
It's
copy.
literally the same.
Okay, so the video is the same. It's just the copies, the variable.
Yeah, emojis and no emojis.
Okay. So the one that's so far performing better is the one without emojis, it looks like. Okay. Oops. And one other metric that I'd be curious to look at is CPM. Let's see. Oh, you do have it in there. Oh, there it is. Okay, CPM is actually pretty similar. Cool. And then let me look at frequency. Oops. Okay, so the frequency is not very high, meaning most people haven't seen the ad more than once. Let me see if I can see if there's any other outliers. Okay, this was another ad without the emojis, it looks like, which also has like a good cost per lead. So based off of these two winners right here, this is actually a pretty good insight. These are your cheapest cost per leads, new leads ad A, and then the same thing, but that was in another ad set. And both of these have the cheapest cost per leads, and they're both following that same principle of no emojis. So that might be one good insight to know, is like, okay, from now on, we're gonna, by default, we're not gonna have emojis in our ad copy. So that's probably the first thing. Now, the other thing that might be worthwhile testing is, so you have like this free cleaning voucher as the headline.
Mhm.
Since this video seems to be performing pretty decent, like your cost per lead of 20 bucks or below, I think that's enough of a suggestion that this video is at least, you know, getting leads interested at a reasonable rate. I would maybe make like a couple variations of this video where you can keep everything the same, but maybe you could add like free cleaning voucher as like an overlay, and that could be like one test. And then you have another variation where it's the same thing, but maybe the overlay says like looking for 15, you know, Utah residents, blah blah blah, and it's still conveying like the same message, but you're just changing that opening frame. And you
Mhm.
would be surprised at like how much of a little change that can make the first 5 seconds or less of the video, even if just like the overlay is different or that, you know, opening message, that could be enough to refresh and keep your ads longer. So
Okay.
some people like think they have to go through this whole process where every time they want to test something new, they change the video, they change the ad copy, they change the offer. The problem with that though is you're changing too many variables at once. You know,
Yeah.
you want to try and isolate just one thing and then test that at a time. All right. And so that would be something I would do, is maybe just make like 5 different openings for this video with different overlay or a message.
Okay.
And then that's going to be important for you guys too, since you are at that higher spends. In fact, let me just look at your audience real quick.
And then really quick, Evan, you
Mhm.
said, so the overlay, add the overlay, but keep like I forget what you call that part.
Copy.
Or just where it says like free cleaning voucher.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
headline.
Keep
Yeah,
that.
I would keep that the same for now. And yeah, just literally just add the overlay on the video, keep everything else the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me just check your audience.
And one question I'll just add to is, so when we're testing those 5 different openings, are we doing it in the same ad set?
Yes. Yeah.
Same ad set.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. So it's sharing the budget.
Correct. Yeah. And you'll notice too, sometimes Facebook will be biased, and if they found like a winner, it will choose to spend a little bit more money like towards that one, and maybe some of the other ones won't get like the same honest testing. And like there's a few things you could do. You could like just temporarily turn off the winner and then give the other ones a chance to at least test. And then once you see that all ads have had a pretty evenly distribution for reach, you can say like, okay, it looks like, you know, we let all of them get an honest chance. This one has the cheapest cost per leads. Let's scale this one up. The other thing you can do, to your question, is yeah, you can technically duplicate 5 different ad sets and just have one ad per ad set. That will ensure like a more even test. The problem with that though is when you have like multiple ad sets, remember what I said about Facebook likes to see 15 conversions per week. So you do run that risk of not getting enough conversions per ad, and then that would also kind of defeat the purpose. So to keep things simple, just keep everything under one ad set.
Cool.
Yeah, and you guys, like your estimated reach with the audience right now, I just saw, yeah, it was a little over 100,000, which isn't like a huge number, especially with you guys at being at $100 a day. So one metric that I would definitely keep a look at is frequency right here.
Yeah.
And since you guys are pretty new advertisers, like none of the metrics are too high right now, which is good. But this one, you know, once you start creeping to that like frequency of 3 or higher,
Yeah.
that's a good sign that you're probably going to have to like start testing ads more vigorously.
Okay.
Is that like new creative, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. New creative, whether it's something as simple as changing the overlay on the videos, or maybe even just changing like the opening scene of a video. So
Got
like,
it.
Yeah, so I'll go back to this one as an example. So even if you can keep like the same exact video, but maybe you change like the first opening frame to like a disgusting kitchen, let's say like a before and after of a sink cleaning, and then it goes right back into this video. Like that's enough to maybe let your ad run for an additional 6 months.
Got it. Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense. That's super helpful. Lots we can work with there. We also could add, should we add, there's a couple cities close by that would probably double the number of people.
Like Salt Lake City.
Well,
I
even
don't know if you're
closer than.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I would say it certainly wouldn't hurt to add like the larger that you can get this audience size, ideally the better you'll have be able to scale your ads for longer and at more budget consistently. So if you're willing to do that, I think that's a good idea.
Okay. Cool. Sweet, man. Super helpful.
Yeah. One other thing I was going to say before I forget to, I think on your funnel, you guys, do you know if you have like your pixel installed on this already?
Yeah, to track leads.
Yeah. So there's a couple things I would do. Sorry, I meant to go to audiences.
Yeah.
So I didn't talk about this on my training, just one for time, but also this is a little bit more of an advanced strategy, but I would make a couple audiences since you guys are running video ads, which is great. I would make one for video views specifically. So what you can do is you can actually, let's say, choose people that watch at least 75% of your video ads. So this one, usually like once every month or 2 months, you would want to come in here and add more videos if you are running new videos. So you can like increase the sample size. But this is certainly great to start off with. It's already gotten, over 78,000 3-second views. So you can hit confirm. And then let's just say people that have watched these in the last, I don't know, 60 days, right? So you could name this 60 days. Oops. Right. So we made a little audience there. Now the same thing with the pixel. Come into here, custom audience. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, website. So this is going to get the pixel people now. And then assuming that this is the correct one on your ClickFunnels, you could do the same thing. All website visitors in the last 30 days, or I usually like to do 60 days. Doesn't really matter though. And then same thing. This would just be like website traffic. Last 60 days. I'll change that. Cool. And then now, if you were to create a new campaign, what's called a retargeting campaign, I won't set it up fully from scratch right now, but just to show you real quick. So, if you name this like retargeting manual, the whole setup would be identical to what you've done already with your leads campaign. But the main difference is that at the ad set level where you go into the targeting, it's going to let me click. Yeah, actually, you mind clicking where it says new leads ad set? I don't know why it won't let me.
Remove I think my Zoom.
Perfect. Yeah. Cool. And then, yeah, website, this pixel, optimizing for leads. Yep. All right. So this is the only thing that would be different. Once you come down here, let me switch the original audience. Okay, here we go. So right here where it says custom audience, if you just click on this, this is where you would select those 2 custom audiences we just created. And now Facebook's only going to show the ad to people that have visited your website or watched 75% of those videos. And the great thing about this retargeting campaign is you can run this at a very cheap budget of like $5 a day. And your this campaign, if I had to, bet on it, it's probably going to get you leads for just as cheap as what you're currently doing, if not cheaper, because people that maybe didn't take an action yet, maybe they watched your videos or went to your funnel, but they didn't submit. Now we're getting in front of them. And what I would recommend you do is you can certainly like do the same video that you're running, but I would actually recommend you do change this up a little bit more so. So if you have like some pictures of like your team, let's say, or you can even try in some like before and after photos, or maybe like some client testimonials.
She has another that she's recorded as well.
Yeah. You can run a lot of different things here. But I would definitely make the copy to be a little bit more so, not so much like, hey, looking for 15 residents, but acknowledge that they've probably landed on your website already. So what we do is like we have our retargeting ads say, hey, we noticed you were checking out our cleaning company here in Utah. We just wanted to warmly welcome you. We're 5-star here for you, blah, blah, blah. And then like one of the photos is just like a cleaner holding the client's cat, and it performs really well.
Yeah.
So this is more so for like the friendly vibe, and trying to get people back in.
That's
Amazing.
cool.
That gave us a lot of insight. Super helpful.
Wait,
Awesome.
that's like a month. That's after running. We're gonna run this first, make the little changes with the overlay, and then that you're suggesting do that like, was that a month out or how far out?
No, you could start this retargeting campaign today for sure. I was just saying for this audience, the video views, if you guys do launch new videos in the future, which you probably will, then you'll just want to make sure that you go back to that audience tab, go to the custom audience that says video views, edit, and then here we're edit videos, and then check the new, videos as you publish them on that leads campaign.
Perfect.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's
Awesome.
pretty.
Evan, you're a beast.
Cool. Yeah. Was this call helpful for you guys?
Yeah, it's super helpful.
Yeah.
It gave us we didn't know what benchmarks we were shooting for. So I feel like you gave us a ton of clarity on where we're at. We didn't know if we're totally underperforming, if we were outperforming, and like what metrics to shoot for. So that gives a lot of insight.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to hear. And yeah, I think at least on the front end, like your ad metrics look pretty solid so far. Main thing I would say is just if you can increase that booking ratio from like lead to booked call. If you can get that a little higher, that will probably move the needle the most.
Okay.
Yeah. And two last questions if you have 2 seconds.
Yeah,
one
for
is,
sure.
if we go to, like, I know you mentioned the ad spend is going to change basically once cost per lead gets above $50. There's no point in spending more, but is it reasonable to think we can spend $5,000 a month considering our audience size, and maybe $5,000 or $10,000 a month with a 2x ROAS? Do you think that's feasible?
Are you saying just on Facebook?
Yeah.
Based on your current audience size, I think that's a little too aggressive.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure what your limit would be in terms of daily ad spends. I do think 5,000 though would be very aggressive, unless you were like in the ads manager all day, every day, and like doing some really extensive tests like all the time, where like every 2 days you're having like 20 different ads or 30 different ads variations. So yeah, I in your case, like if you do have that plan of basically like spending that much, it would probably make more sense to put half of that into like Google ads if you're not already doing so. Maybe like TikTok ads too. You could test those out, but yeah.
So probably $3,000 per month in ad spend would be a more reasonable target, something like that.
Yeah, more reasonable. I don't know what the exact number would be, but That's my hunch. Yeah.
And then close rate, like on the people that you get on the phone to close, like 30 to 50%, is that kind of the range we're shooting for?
Yeah, I think that's probably like a pretty common number from people I've spoken to. Yeah, I would say that's accurate.
Yeah, sweet. All right. Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks, Evan.
Awesome. Yeah, you got it, guys. Keep crushing it, and we'll stay in touch. Love to hear you guys' results over the next few months.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe this is something